Hello and welcome to the Chatterbox podcast, the podcast where creatives get to talk about their creative journey as they navigate the business world. This is the inaugural podcast, and so we felt it would be nice if at all we started by us introducing who we are as Sticks and Stones and what we do. So this is part of the team. I think this is the core team, and so I guess I'll start the very first question with Nabster. Maybe he can introduce himself and tell us who Sticks and Stones are and what we do.
Hey, my name is Joseph Shege, but everyone calls me Nabster. It's a moniker I got a while back. Story for another time. We are Sticks and Stones, a collective of creatives, makers, doers, and dreamers. And this is our space. Part of it that you're seeing. And what we do basically is just the adjectives of the things that have the verbs of what I've just mentioned. So we make a lot of material. For instance, this lovely help me guys, is this like is this console, yeah, I'm trying to like define it. And then this lovely check your pose, man. This love seat, as well as the design and creative and the strategy and thinking for all of these things. Some of us are photographers, some of us are painters, some of us work with material and music and just a whole bunch of stuff. And I think this is what we're passionate about, and we come together to harness this energy in the brand that is Sticks and Stones, that now delivers this as personal projects that are given out to the world. For instance, this podcast, as well as commissions and client jobs that we do here and there. So that's pretty much what we do on a day-to-day. I don't know if you guys do something else. You could
I don't
share.
think it's very legal, the other thing that I do. But I think at the very same time is that over the years, Sticks and Stones has evolved in very many different ways. And once that evolution started, we felt it was important to segment it. So we have, like, for example, if we're doing like physical and actual production of items, that falls under our Plantation brand. Whenever we're doing anything that involves a lot of maybe digital or identity creation or strategy, that falls under our Noodles brand. Things like this particular podcast here, when we do our stand-up comedy gigs, when we put on our live music shows and podcasts and DJing, that comes under Tantrum as an umbrella. And we've not done a lot on this particular other segment. It's called Native Tongue, which is basically our urban fashion brand for a while. But that's because I think it's going through a period of evolution and flux. And also it's very important that things get done when they should be done. Like, timing is also very important, I guess. So I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that. Thank you. Very conclusive. So I think the next question that then comes about is what our origin story is, how we started this whole thing. I think about almost 9 years, 10 years. 10 years this year. I don't think we celebrate that type of thing. We celebrate work more than anything else. Yeah. 10 years ago, Nabst and I basically met digitally, not on Tinder. We just met on Facebook. We were part of a group for an event. I don't know if we're allowed to say which event, but then there was an event that was very popular in the day, and we were trying to get tickets to the event on the page. But then by the time they released ticket info, the ticket pricing turned out to be astronomical. And so him and I were like, we can actually do this event in my backyard. Just bring decks, bring music, bring booze. And then the thread got, I think, about 450 people just saying, do it. And the owners of the event kicked us off. And then he sent me a friend request and we became friends. We started talking and comparing different things that we do and different visions and dreams. And we felt, I think, very much like a yin and yang. It was very complementary. And so a few years after that, I quit my job. I drove to his university and I pulled him out of class and I said, I'm starting a business. I don't know what it is, but I want to start it with you. We won't make money for some time, but you can leave university as an employer and not an employee. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And I guess that's how we started. It was not easy. I think maybe that's a talk for another time, but there were quite a number of challenges within that. But ideally, that's our origin story. A lot of it was ideally just ideas. It was just dreams and ideas. The very first client we went to pitch was actually the event organizers for the gig that kicked us off the group. And we didn't have anything. We just went with a piece of paper and we were there explaining grand ideas and the strategy and what we would do and how we would do it. And I think it was very kind of them because they just went ahead and said, yeah, let's do it. I think I'd say at this point in time, I don't know if we can connect the dots, but I want to say thank you very much to people like Mikhail Kuzi, Drazen, Bani. I think those guys, DJK, Ohms, those guys, if they didn't believe in us at that particular time, we wouldn't be here. Yeah. Yeah. And then slowly by slowly we started pulling people in. We started like we didn't really know you were collective, did we?
Yeah, I think you don't even realize. I think it's not us or the individuality of ourselves that pulls people to the collective. I think it's the output of the collective sometimes, because the output is I mean, you could be going through a tough day and the output is something amazing, like regardless. So I think once people like were in the rave scene a lot at the time, and you know what, one like the cool guys, in the front and getting all the tickets, we were like, yeah, we were selling at these events. And just there's something I read the other day about how great it is to see someone light up when they do something they're passionate about. And I think that's what a lot of people saw in us, and slowly by slowly that passion became like a seed that went with all these people, and somehow we all came together as I don't know, Nyach, if you want to share
how we met.
Yeah, I think we met at what gig was it?
It was a 6 a.m. gig, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
for yeah. This man has no secret. Yeah, go ahead then.
Well, I guess we met at a gig.
Yeah. It's too late.
Same gig. I can't remember which gig it was. I think it was a Black Coffee gig or something.
No, I think.
And I came to your counter asking for merchandise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I ended up selling merchandise instead.
Yeah.
Slave labor. No.
I ended up selling merchandise, and the guys who were supposed to be selling were up on the dance floor dancing.
You're welcome, bro. Like, that's how we roll.
But it was one heck of a gig.
Yeah, and also you were part of I think the first group we tried to collaborate with, which was Neon Republic.
Yeah.
And so I think once we realized you're not stealing money off the counter, we were like, okay, fine, maybe we can work with this guy. And so we tried to do a few things with the Neon Republic. Still great friends. I think I don't know if they're still together, but they still do a lot of great music. Jitsu. Yeah.
Mzuka is also still doing his thing back in SA.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing everyone is doing their own kind of thing.
Yeah. And then Humphrey, Wanjira.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't like. I think you two had a connection fast. Yeah.
I think it was from Instameets. I think that's where, because I think you're one of the people who inspired me. Like in the world of photography in Kenya.
Mistake.
I mean, you and like among other creatives, photographers, and yeah, I think before we knew each other, like I used to be like, wow, that's
and then you met him and you're like, oh yeah, he's
like,
shit.
He's just
no, but yeah, so I think that's where we met and how I got into this awesome creative. you guys called me for a project, yeah? Think an year ago, 2 years ago? No,
2 years
what?
Two years.
A year ago.
2 years ago.
2 years
2 years
ago.
ago.
It's 2 years ago now.
Yeah. Damn, 2020. Yeah, so that's when I met you guys, and I think from there, like, just things just fell in place, and like we just clicked.
Because we were always like, even when I think a lot of what people don't understand is that with creative process like this, even when we may not reach out to someone, we're always looking at other people who are doing amazing work. And that's part of what, like, I had not met Wanjira, like, personally, but then I'd seen a lot of his work. I'd been inspired a lot of with his work. The one thing I hated was that he liked wearing, like, dashikis and stuff. So, like...
The shit is rock. They still rock.
So by the time we had a project, and we were like, we really need someone who has an eye for that type of project, and we called in Wanjira, and he came in and he was game, and then he just never left. It's like those people who come to eat food at your house, and the next thing you know, they're just eating. But I think it's amazing having, like, his eye just come in and be able to give even different direction, not just in one thing, but then all the different things that we are able to do, whether we're working on woodwork projects, film projects, comedy projects, like everything that we're working when it's amazing how everyone is interwoven into those. So I guess the next question is basically what our journey has been so far. I think someone said something very important to me a few weeks ago, and they said, if you meet a business person who's successful and they are under 20 and they've not created something that is revolutionary that everyone knows about, they've taken a shortcut somewhere. And I think if I can talk about our creative journey or personal journeys, it's just growth. There's periods of flux whereby you dip and then you go up, and then you dip and then you go up. But it's always encouraging. I don't think I'd ever be able to do what I do right now if I did not have the people around me and the other people behind the cameras and everywhere else, sticks and stones, because it's a very lonely journey. I think a creative journey is a very lonely journey. So it's always very good when you see other people going through the same struggles, I think successes, leaps and bounds and growths that you're going through. That becomes encouraging. And to have people who are this close to you, and then they're able to encourage you when you're feeling low, or they're able to basically inspire you with what they do. I think that's what I'd say conclusively is the journey for Sticks and Stones. It's really a human journey more than anything else. There are faults, there are fallings, there's rising, there's success, but you always push forward, because I tend to feel that the creative collective is something that now has a life of its own, and that means that it has to go through all the phases of growth and development that anything, like if it's a child or if it's a plant, anything that basically has to go through. So that's amazing. And I guess the funniest thing is I think maybe we forgot to mention this, that we are all creatives here, but all of us actually have scientific backgrounds. I don't know, everyone can just shout out what they did and we can move on as the nerds that you are.
Engineering, electrical.
I am software engineer.
Particle physicist.
I did IT.
Okay, so not a scientific matter. So I think that brings something like different to the taste, because we are always looking at a creative process from also a very analytical process. And that perspective allows us to explore things in a different way. Anyway, I think maybe this is a question for everyone seated here. What are the few things that you think, or the one thing that you think you wish you'd known before you started the creative journey, or being in a creative space, or being a brand, or being in an entity like this? I don't know where we start.
Start over there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, lecturer. Thank you.
Supervisor. Yes.
My name is Wanjira Gateri. Most of guys out there know me as a photographer. By the name Nairobi Foyt on Instagram.
Shameless plugin.
There are other handles as well, but I won't plug those ones just yet. Yeah, so I think one thing that I can think on top, like from the top of my head, that I wish I knew before I got into whatever I do now is mostly the business side. I think that yeah, like I think if I was to go back in time and talk to myself, my cool younger self, I would I would I would definitely um advise myself to learn more about the business, especially since the creative industry in Kenya is all over, and it's not well defined. Yeah, I think that's one thing I would.
So the question is what we would tell our younger selves,
If,
or
if you could speak to your younger self
Okay.
before you started the creative business or process
Yeah.
or being in the scene.
well, if I could speak to my younger self, I guess I'd ask him to question more, because a lot of times in the creative journey you find yourself just doing, and when you're just doing, you never do anything sometimes that's revolutionary, because it's what everyone else is doing if you're just doing. So I wish I told him to question more, because there were projects that now I think about. We're very young and we're still trying to understand what Illustrator and InDesign were, but still, I'd still tell him question, because maybe we didn't need to make actual books. Maybe we needed to like make a journal physically or something. But I guess as you grow and you realize that, you don't have to express one thing in just one way. I think if I started questioning then, I think there are some pretty cool things we would have made that are cooler than what we have already. Not that there are no cool things. It's just, sometimes you just think, what if? And that's the question I'd give.
I guess I'm on the same page with Nabster on this. One thing I should have told myself before I started this process is learn more, I guess, because before I came to this creative process and stuff, I didn't know that much. I didn't know much about Illustrator, Photoshop. I didn't even know too much about how music and stuff. I didn't know much about photography and stuff. But with time, these little things you learn will always make your mind expand. It will always make you think differently. It will always make you see things differently. And that's what I'm always grateful for.
I think for me, it's something that I personally struggle with, and I think that's patience. I think just having the patience to know that things do take time. I guess when we started, I think we thought we'd make like billions within like 3 months or something. And so patience is something that I'm learning. It's a personal journey. It's something that I go through. It's not just patience in terms of business. It's patience in terms of the creatives around me. It's patience in terms of the projects that I'm working on. It's patience in terms of understanding that things take the time that they take. So, for instance, the very first inspiration for this particular love seat was about 4 years ago, and we haven't had it done until early this year. So it takes time. Things take the time that they take, and that's one thing I would want my younger self to understand, because sometimes we're very hard on ourselves when things are not working out, and it's really not down to you not working hard enough. It's just it takes the time that it takes. So that's something I think I would want to tell my younger self. The other question that I would have is basically again thrown to the floor is what challenges, I guess, do we face both internally and externally as a collective? And I guess we can just go through this like rather quickly so that we don't bore everyone to death.
On my end, I guess internally, it's always coming up with one solid idea for a particular project.
Yeah.
Usually everyone has their own wild and crazy ideas. And everyone
Yeah.
thinks the idea is the greatest.
Yeah.
That's where most of the challenges come in.
This man is
Because
snitching.
Wanjira is always with his idea, stubborn as hell. Eric is also there, stubborn as hell. Napster is also very stubborn. So always coming up with one single solid idea is usually hard. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you can't always brush off someone's idea.
Yeah.
Everyone's idea is always a great idea. That's one thing I know. But coming up with one effective idea, I think that's where most of the problems come in. Yeah. That's my part.
Yeah. I think for external challenges, mostly it has to do with the clients, because clients they don't want to explore more. They want to get fixed on a certain idea, and they want you to do things their way, and they don't give you space to explore, question,
Yeah.
like, and do something more that won't be seen outside there. Done by
So
anyone.
like, I think what you're saying is, on most occasions, clients want an idea that has already been used and
Yeah.
reused.
Yeah.
It's basically
Yeah.
like
A regurgitation.
Yeah, it's just a
of-
regurgitation. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I feel that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Nubs?
Well, I think internally sometimes there's things that we've always wanted to start, but then as well economic strains happen because some ideas are so grand. Like there's a time we wanted to like have a whole laser tag.
Oh
Yeah, like we had like we'd
had
put
a
guns in a
business
cart, like
plan,
we had
we
the
had,
strategy. And then we got the final like figure to start everything, and like this is like a lot. This is like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, what was it? Was it like 800 million?
it was just a lot of
No,
money
80
to
million,
acquire
80
a
million,
place
yeah.
and put it up and get the licenses and ship these things in that are not firearms but look like firearms.
Oh, yeah, that was.
So I think like some mammoth projects, I think that because in ourselves the difficulty of sustaining, like you can finance it for a bit, but can you sustain it is a problem. And then the challenge is also partners who they like our ideas and go for them, because it's difficult when you say, oh, we'll do laser tag, and this person that has the money to do it is all excited with you. And then it's just going to be a story that he goes on to tell his business partners and stuff. Look at those. So it's people investing in some crazy things like that. So I said that's an external challenge. Yeah.
I think for me, the one of the biggest challenge is, I guess I'd say, opportunity. And I think it ties in with everything that you guys are talking about in terms of, in order for you to do certain things, you need a financial opportunity. In order for you to do certain things, you need to be able to have a creative opportunity. In order for you to do certain things, you need to be able to have the opportunity buy-in from the client. So I think part of the biggest challenge is always opportunity. You may have a grand idea. I think we've done amazing works for different clients, even just pitching. Sometimes we spend like 50,000, 100,000 Kenya shillings in terms of resources for a pitch, and then you present the pitch and they love it and it's great, but
they won't back it
then
up.
they won't back it up.
Yeah.
It's this is a great idea and send this to us, explain how this is going to work. I won't mention the bank, but at one point in time we were called in for a pitch after working until I think 3 a.m. in the morning, and the next day we had a pitch meeting at 7, and we had mixed up the dates in terms of the calendar because we'd just flown back in from Rwanda. And by the time we were getting there, we went in and presented the ideas, and it was amazing and everyone loved it. And then they came back and said, okay, we want you to pitch this again. And we came back and pitched again. And at a certain point in time, I think there was an issue with either the financing, because everyone had buy-in for the idea. And then what they came back to us with was, oh, you guys have not explained this idea thoroughly. And we're like, guys, everything you need is already there. You have everything. We have the numbers to back up what we're talking about. But the opportunity for us to be able to execute that stopped with the financial maybe burden. And sometimes I feel it's just important for people to be able to say, we don't have the money right now, or we don't think this idea will work for us right now because it's too far left field, instead of making you as the creatives feel as though it is inadequate. So I think that's my challenge. Opportunity is a huge challenge for, and not just us. I think lots of creatives out there. And so I think this must be the last questions that we ask, just to wind this up, and everyone jump in and just do your thing. Is what are you reading right now? What are you watching right now? And what are you listening to, or who are you listening to right now? I don't know, where do you want to start? Should we start from
Yes.
the side? Yeah.
We're reading. And the last book I read for 20 pages, and then the owner came for it because it took me like 3 weeks.
Look at the way he's looking at me, like just.
It's not our fault you're illiterate, Onyach.
So reading is a no for me. But anyway, when it comes to what I listen to a lot of stuff. It's quite broad. I can't even start telling you.
What are you listening? Who was the last person you listened to? What album did you listen to last?
Like at the moment, I was listening to an old reggae band. I'm actually more into reggae at the moment, so I was listening to Black Uhuru.
Hey.
Everyone hold your wallet.
That's what I'm listening to.
Okay, and what are you watching? Or a series, film? What have you just watched?
I'm watching a sci-fi show. It's called Expanse. It has some really intense storylines, so that's what I'm watching at the moment.
Oh shit. That's my opinion. Okay. I think what I'm listening to right now is I got some vinyl records from my friend Mumbi. Shout out Mumbi. And part of the records I got was these speeches by Malcolm X, and those are amazing. They used to belong to her dad, actually. So I'm listening to a lot of those at the moment. I think I also discovered through my friend Kimberly a new artist to me. Her name is Snow Allegra, I think. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Allegra, I guess.
Allegra,
Yeah. I listened.
Yeah.
I watched her NPR Tiny Desk concert, and it was amazing. Shout out Tiny Desk, sponsor this podcast.
It's a tiny desk.
There's Tiny Desk. Snow Allegra. So that's who I've been listening. I was driving today, so that's who I was listening to. In terms of what I'm watching the 3rd season of Westworld. It's not yet there, but it's cool. Also just watched Snowpiercer. Yeah.
That's a great film.
Yeah. And what am I reading? I'm reading Pharrell Williams' book. Does a fish doesn't know it's wet? It's artsy, but it also has a lot of talking points that I find important and inspirational.
What I'm listening to, let me tell you, like 5 years ago, my friend Najib Cavalier introduced me to this band called Little Dragon. And like I became a disciple. Like, I even won tickets at some point. Anyway, I'm listening to the new album. It's called something new. I'm still getting into it.
Does not remember.
It's the new Little Dragon album that recently came out. I'm also listening to let me think of the last thing. I'm listening to that new Childish Gambino album. It's really intense. It's like
It has a lot of weird sounds.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's because I'm in a period in time where I've been listening to a lot of Max Cooper and just listening to a lot of music that's artificially, what is it called, AI technology, like a response, like a modal response from your synthesizer, for instance. So I guess those 2 albums are what I've just listened to. I'm reading a book you lent to me. It's called Tomboya.
Never getting that back.
Tomboya, the man Kenya wanted to forget. It's by Daniel Goldwyn, I think.
Shit, can I borrow that after?
You have money?
No.
Yeah, so that's what I'm reading.
Okay. And what are you watching?
What I'm watching, I recently watched a really cool film called El Hoyo, or The Platform.
Oh yeah.
It's the platform, yeah. It's called The Platform. It's really like it's an amazing breakdown of capitalism and what the inverse could do. So those, I guess that's it.
Which movie did I watch with you last time?
You guys are watching movies together?
Netflix and chill.
Binge watching.
Wait, what was it?
I can't remember the name.
It was weird. It was like this lady who was wow. I'll remember.
Sucks for you.
It was one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Wanjira,
very-
what are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you reading?
Let's see what I'm listening. Well, right now I'm listening to a lot of house music, Afro house to be specific. I recently got into DJing, so I'm still exploring more of that side. And yeah, so the last album I listened to, which was this morning, was Da Capo's album. What's the name of that album? Not Touch. The 2016 one. It has found you.
So these guys are actually neighbors. So if he's listening to an
Indigo
album,
Child.
he's listening to an album
Yeah,
by
that's-
default.
That's the one, man. And
Yeah.
we need him to release more music,
Yeah.
more album. What am I reading? Well, it's been a while since I picked up a book, and it's because
similarities.
it's because of the house music I'm listening to.
Okay.
So I haven't really started a new book. The last book I read was Trevor Noah's Born a Crime.
There's a story behind that.
It's a crime.
What was the other?
What are you
The
watching?
movie.
What am I watching? I recently got hooked up to Explained, the Netflix
Okay. Yeah.
special. Is it a special? I'm not
I
sure.
think it's just a Netflix
yeah.
series production type
Yeah,
thing.
so that's what I'm hooked up right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Horse Girl.
Yeah, it was Horse Girl.
Horse Girl.
Where?
That
Okay.
title.
It's very weird. It's a very weird film. Yeah.
Okay. I think to wind this up, we can basically be. I think just walking down, we can basically shout out the people that we feel have brought us to where we are right now in terms of this journey. I think for us, one person who was a patron who basically guided us and gave us opportunities, Mikhail Kuzi of Avocado Studios. Big shout out to you and Katya Kuzi. Thank you so much for having taken us under your wings and given us an opportunity. I think also people that we've worked with, Amrat at Pixel Splash, Jafar, I think Samir of Skaba Creative. He's been amazing for us.
Maz, who has taught us amazing things about
Yeah.
sound, and Jim, who's like shown us a whole new perspective on
Yeah.
filming.
I think Maz and Jim of the Nest.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
the Nest Collective. I'd say as well, I guess people who in some ways have supported a lot of the things that are up here. I think I'd want to say thank you to all of you, because when one thing leaves the wall, something else, it prepares room for something else to come. So we do not take your patronage or your support in any, we appreciate it a lot, because it's what allows us to keep creating more things, because there's space for it.
I think also just other people that we've been able to partner with, guys like Blue Door have been amazing. Those guys gave us an opportunity and a platform. Thank you so much. Two Grapes in Kilimani. It's small, it's nice, it's boutique. Monique, Coralie, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for partnering with us. I think also Panier
Yeah, and
of
Sticky,
Dust Depot. Sticky is also part of the collective. He's
Yeah.
not here right now. I think he's
the guy
somewhere
behind the
sketching.
painting
This is
behind
the
us.
guy who's done this amazing art piece here and a few art pieces throughout the space. But Panye is his mentor, Patrick Mukabi. Thank you for giving other young people opportunities to be able to explore arts in the way that you have. We need more people in that of that nature. I don't know if you want to shout anyone out.
I guess.
watu wanjadhaine.
I don't think I need to shout out anyone at the moment. You've
This is
mentioned
a selfish
most of
man.
the guys.
big up yourself.
Wanjira?
Man, I mean, kidding. No, I think that's just about it.
Yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us. This has been the podcast that explores how creatives are navigating the business world. The name is Chatterbox. Look for us on all platforms, on iTunes, on Anchor, and any other place that you find your podcast. I guess we're out.
Mic drop.
Kwaheri.
Peace.
Mic drop.
Ukiangusha hiyo
Don't drop.
mic,
Angusha hii mic utanipa wewe.